Mayor de Blasio and his chancellor said they have their plan, which is cohort learning. An example is 2 days on, 3 days on, alternating. Do you accept that as their plan, or do they need to resubmit by the end of the month? What is your...
No, they can submit a plan. The plan will be reviewed, and then we'll accept or deny the specific plan or ask for alterations on the specific plan, and then make a global decision as to whether or not any school district will reopen, and that will be the first week of August. Your follow-up question should be, or if I were you, my follow-up question would be, because I'm really just a frustrated journalist, the next life I'm going to be on the other side of the table, and I'm going to be a terror. You think you guys are terrors, because I am an educated questioner. The follow-up is, could you have different decisions in different regions on August 1st? Or is it just a global yes or no? That's a great question, and I'm going to duck it, but that would be a great question.
My actual follow-up question, though, is, based on today's data, does the New York City plan work?
You are not deciding today. Ideally, you would make the decision the night before, right? If you're a parent, you probably are going to wait until the night before, and you're going to get the data the night before. I don't have the luxury of waiting for the night before. Our institutional systemic drop-dead date is the first week in August. So we will make that decision the first week in August. And if you say we're opening schools first week in August, then how do you open schools? Could there be a variance by region? Yes, because you have different infection rates by region, right? We know that. That's why we had a phased reopening on the economy. So would you apply that same logic to schools? You could. You could have a differential of infection rates and therefore a differential in how schools reopen.
But your trajectory has been going down for weeks, health data. Given that, doesn't the New York City plan at least seem today, as we sit here, to be a credible plan?
No, because I'm not going to say, today does not determine credibility. And you're right, our numbers now are going down. We're also looking at quarantining 19 states. You see the infection rate going up all across the country. You do see some troubling signs in New York, the mass gatherings, Fire Island, Manhattan. So are we comfortable where we are today? Bad question. We're not comfortable. But are we where we were hoped to be? We're actually better than we hoped to be, right? You look at those numbers, we're better than we hoped to be. We had expected an increase upon the reopenings. Just by the simple reason, you're increasing activity, you must be seeing an increase in the infection rate when you're increasing activity. So I actually expected an increase that we have not seen. That's good news. Could these other states be bringing in an infection? Yes. Could the mass gatherings be spreading an infection? Yes. Could we see the numbers go up next week? Yes. Could the fact that these regions are now going into phase 4, more activity, could that bring up the infection rate? Yes. Could the fact that the traffic is way up in New York City, bridge and tunnels, subway numbers? Yes. Subway ridership is way up. Bridge and tunnel traffic is way up. Could that raise the numbers? Yes. So we have to see. What's the drop dead date? First week in August. And then we'll make a decision first week in August based on those numbers. And then you'll make separate decisions on the local plan and the advisability of the local plan individually besides the global determination.
Governor, Governor, to follow up, you have 700 school districts in New York, 1,000 plus schools in New York City that are public schools, not including charter schools, religious schools, and private schools. How will your Department of Education, or you yourself and your staff, be able to decide on thousands of reopening plans to decide whether or not each one of them is going to be okay?
Yeah, they don't really, they're doing it more, there's more of a cohesive approach to this, Marcia. We have a committee that's been in place, I'll ask Jim to give you some details, that has been talking about this for weeks. And then you have, basically, you only have a couple of models. They're more on regional variations than anything else. Schools on Long Island will all have about the same plan. Schools in Western New York will all have about the same plan. It's not an individual school plan. If there's a variation, it's a regional variation. But the complicating factor is then you do have a variance in the infection rate all across the state. You have very different situations on the infection rate. And how would that affect different schools? If I have a lower infection rate because I'm in upstate New York, is it safe for me to actually have more in-school days than a school that has a higher infection rate? Those are all good questions that we're working through now.
So also, what would you say to school union leaders who are very concerned about the safety of the buildings for their teachers? They've expressed concerns and say maybe they don't want to go into schools unless they're, especially here in New York City. I'm sure you must have heard from Michael Mulgrew. He's been very vocal about it. What do you say to him?
Yeah,
How do you
Marcia,
guarantee
I say
the
you're
safety
right.
of the teachers?
I say you're right. You're concerned. I'm just as concerned. If it's not safe for my child, it's not safe for anyone's child. If I wasn't prepared to be a school teacher in that school, I wouldn't ask anyone else to be a school teacher in that school. It's that simple. When we came to the reopening of the economy, I said, I'm not going to put someone in a dangerous situation. There's no money on the planet that can pay for a life, as far as I'm concerned. So it's a balance. And the same is with schools.
So I just wonder if you've seen the president's tweet where he said that he might cut off federal aid to schools that don't.
Yeah, I know, threaten me. It's not the first time. We went through this. We went through this whole threat, right? He was going to order me to reopen the economy, liberate New York, right? I'm the president. I'll tell you when the economy opens. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. It's not legal. It's not constitutional. And you're not going to bully New Yorkers. That's not going to happen, right? Threaten me. How many times have we been through this? I'm still here, right? Do you think the threat is going to work, Marcia? Do you really think the threat is going to work? Love works, not the threat. Jim, you want to just give some color on what the school districts?
And on the governor's